And?
Yes, that is your hand, Nanawe. Very good.
Who knew auditions for director James Gunn could involve intense chemistry tests with rats? The Suicide Squad actors went through some unique experiences when it came to getting their roles. Most of them didn't even know which character they were auditioning for. Which actor joined the cast solely because of the name of his character? Let's take a look.
I hope so.
Daniela Melchior's audition experience was actually a pretty extensive affair. It was lucky that she ended up with an in-person audition since she'd actually passed on 2 different self-tape requests for the film and finally submitted an audition when the third opportunity came around. While being on vacation led her to passing on the tapes, deep down she was really nervous about auditioning in English. This is her first full-length English language movie. The actress admits it's one of the worst tapes she'd ever done. She actually read her script right off the paper on camera. A major no-no for such a huge gig, but something stuck and she was flown to the production team to meet in person. Before even getting into the audition room, Daniela Melchior had an in-person meeting with James Gunn and Peter Safran. While she was going to be auditioning to play a loner rat controller, her agent suggested she do full makeup for this major and potentially career-changing meeting. The glammed-up first impression made the team think that she wasn't the right fit for the part and even got her a no after the meeting. Luckily, Melchior had one more shot to impress, when she showed up to Reid for Ratcatcher 2. The actress's chemistry test with the rat turned out to be what did the trick. After seeing her enthusiasm with the rodents, the team saw her in a totally new light. That no very quickly became a yes, and the rest is history.
I picked one up and then he was crawling on my shoulder.
Margot Robbie's impact on the DCEU has been remarkable. The actress's portrayal of Harley Quinn is brilliant, and she once said she'd be keen to do the role as long as possible. It is a dream job, and Robbie fits it pretty perfectly. A definite match made in DCEU heaven. Robbie is also one of the few actors to do both Suicide Squad and The Suicide Squad, so her being cast was discussed quite a bit. Rumors even went around that the studio might have forced James Gunn to bring her on as Harley Quinn, but fortunately, none of this was true. Gunn went so far as to call Margot Robbie the best actor I've ever worked with, bar none. The rave review isn't a surprise since Robbie didn't even audition for the part in the first place.
I didn't audition, which is a real step up as an actor when you can get offered things.
Looks like one thing everyone can agree on is that Robbie makes a pretty brilliant Harley Quinn.
Oh.
Storm Reid might be 17 years old, but her resume is already long and impressive, so it's no surprise she was brought onto the film to play Idris Elba's sassy daughter. It was pretty perfect casting, since the actress feels like she meets the same level of sass and swag as her character. Funnily enough, it took quite a while before Reid actually learned who she was playing, only having a name to work with and, of course, Idris Elba. The actress adored working with him. Elba actually helped keep her on her toes quite a bit on set. Reid said she was really impressed by how quickly Elba would move in and out of character, especially since he was so friendly and talkative when he wasn't performing.
They would call cut. He would just go back into conversation and laugh and talk.
John Cena wasn't the only actor considered to play Peacemaker. Initially, Dave Bautista was who the team wanted, since James Gunn had worked with him on Guardians of the Galaxy, but it didn't work out due to some scheduling conflicts. That's when Gunn brought up joining the DC franchise to the actor. It was a no-brainer for Cena. While the actor didn't know a whole lot about what he was getting into, he knew who James Gunn was and that his eye for casting was a step above the rest. So he trusted his gut and dove right in. Cena wasn't let down, as when the two met up, director Gunn blew the actor away with just how prepared and passionate about the material he was. This was definitely a leap of faith worth taking.
Well, I am a horrible superhero, so it's quite difficult.
Pete Davidson was pumped to join the Suicide Squad, even if his appearance in the film is fairly short-lived. How exactly did the actor get involved? Director James Gunn gave him a call letting him know that there was a role he could play in the movie. Once Gunn explained the name of his character would be Richard Hertz, Davidson called the character Dick Hertz. There was no turning back after that. Davidson was all in.
When you get to work with James Gunn on a superhero movie, it's kind of like getting work with Dr. Dre with making a hip-hop album.
When Idris Elba initially signed on to be part of the Suicide Squad, he wasn't sure exactly which character he'd be playing. Instead of rushing to choose a character, the team took their time and really explored their options, making sure the character they chose would be the best fit. So until that was sorted out, Idris Elba went by Vigilante. The production team knew people would be snooping to get more info, so code names were used pretty widely during the production.
We didn't know what character from the DC universe we were going to use.
Nathan Fillion and director James Gunn working together on the Suicide Squad was a pretty logical step considering the two have been longtime collaborators. They first met years ago when Fillion was auditioning for a film in 2006 called Slither. The movie was being filmed in Vancouver, and before he left the audition, Fillion dropped the fact that he was Canadian and was convinced that that played a part in booking the job. After a pretty rocky experience working on Slither, Fillion was impressed with how well Gunn handled every single issue and really knew that he could trust this director. Now, he takes any opportunity he can to work with him. When Borg went into his audition for the Suicide Squad, he had no idea he'd be auditioning for Javelin, since the character had been given a different name to prevent any leaks from getting out. With the name of the character he auditioned for being different and random foam instruments in the audition room, Borg felt totally thrown. The actor feels like he very accidentally struck the right tone in the room. It was such an uncertain affair that Borg felt like he was accidentally given a job, but that wouldn't stop him from taking it and loving it. Getting cast in the DCEU was an absolute dream come true, even if he felt it was all accidental. Once the role was his, he put loads of work in, eating 7,000 calories a day and training to be in shape to throw the javelin like a pro. Germans happen to be very strong javelin throwers, so Borg really knew he had to work to live up to the expectation.
I love your accent.
When acting legend Sylvester Stallone was called by director James Gunn, he wasn't so much asked as he was told that he'd be voicing a role in the Suicide Squad, since Gunn had written it for him. Once Stallone knew it wouldn't be too much of a time commitment, Gunn explained the character he was voicing would be a chubby shark that eats humans. Stallone was all in and sealed the deal with, "Anything for you, brother."
He's such a misfit. He's like a shark out of water. Can it be worse?
One day, Mayling got a call from her agent letting her know that she had an audition just 3 days later with no details but James Gunn and Creature. Talk about intimidating. The audition felt really intense for the actress, and she felt like she'd totally missed the mark. She even found herself fully growling at one point. Once she got the offer and found out she was going to be playing Mongol, she realized that the audition she did was pretty perfect for the character. A surprisingly common theme amongst many of the cast members in the Suicide Squad.
Think there's any connection?
No.
This cast blew the film out of the water. Knowing just how unsure some of these actors were during the audition process is pretty wild. It's obvious director James Gunn has a knack for casting, and actors seem to love working with him. Who else could call Sylvester Stallone with the offer to play a chubby shark?